In this Watch It video, we're going to be looking at how to create an arc. Now, arcs are shapes that are lines that curve. When creating an arc, you need to know your starting point, your ending point, the starting angle, and the ending angle, and the thickness of the line. The starting angle should always be less than the ending angle. So if we look right here, we have Pygame.draw arc. Of course, we're drawing to our screen. We're giving it a color. Then we give it our points. Now you can either create a variable for your points, or you can put the points within the draw.arc. You give it your starting angle. You give it your ending angle. And then you have your thickness. So if we look here, we're drawing two arcs. We have a green arc that is starting at 10, 10. So that's 10 across, 10 down. And then it has an ending point of 100, 100. So it's 100 across, 100 down. And then it has a 0 starting angle. And then its ending angle is pi divided by 2. And then we have our thickness. So that's our green arc right there. And then for our red arc, we draw to the screen, we give it the color, we have our next set of points. So then after that, you have your starting angle, which is 0, and then your ending angle, which is just pi, and then the thickness. So that made our red arc. So now we're going to look at doing that in Pygame. So the first thing I want you to do is open your Pygame window, and you're going to do a file, save as, and you are going to name it Pygame Arcs. So we open the Pygame window, we do a file, save as, name it Pygame Arcs. And then we're going to make our Pygame look like our code here. So we have our import Pygame, import sys. Then underneath that, we are going to, from system, so we're going to go ahead and put in, we're going to take sys off of this line here and put it down here, because we need to import some specific stuff from the system. So we need to import math and import pi. So it's going to look in the folder for math, and then it's going to import the information for pi. Then we also need to import our random, because we're going to be making some random color changes and some also points maybe. All right, so right here we have pygame.init, which is the same. We have our screen. It wants us to use a 640 by 480. So we change that window. Then we have our colors. We have white. I have white, red, green, blue, and black already on the screen, which is fine. And then we have screen.fill white. You can leave that. Now we're going to put in some random colors. So we're going to put R equals random dot rand int, because we need an integer between 0 and 255 for our red color. We have G equals random dot rand int 0 to 55. And then we have our blue, or B equals random dot rand int 0 to 55. And we're going to create a random color by saying rand color equals our R comma G comma B. So that'll give us a pretty random color in here. All right, so now we need some points, and you can use different variables to create, for your point names. I used R1 and R2, so I'm going to just say R1. I want R1 to start at 10, 10, and I want my ending point to be at 100, 100. Then for, oops, I forgot to put an equal sign. And then for my R2, it's going to be equal to the starting point 20, 100. And its ending point is going to be 100, 100. And now we're going to go down and we're going to draw this. So I'm going to say Pygame dot draw dot arc. I'm drawing to my screen. I am going to use a random color. So I'm using rand color. And I'm going to say R1, because those are the points I need. 0 is my starting angle. Remember that my ending angle must be larger than my starting angle. So I'm going to put pi divided by 2. And then I want my thickness to be 2. So now I'm going to do Pygame dot draw arc, drawing to my screen. This time I'm going to use blue. R2 for my points. I'm going to say 0. I'm going to use just plain pi, and my thickness is going to be 2. So let's look at that and see what we get. So I'm going to run it. It's going to ask me to save. Make sure you save it. And here's my first one. So I have, it looks like a pretty purple for my first arc, and then my second arc is blue. All right, so let's look at drawing some other arcs. So we are going to put in Pygame dot draw dot arc screen black, and this time we're just going to put the points within the actual Pygame. So we're going to use a bracket. We're going to start at 210, 75, comma 150, 125. Put a closing bracket, comma. The arc is going to start at 0, and then I'm going to use the pi divided by 2 and the thickness 2. Then I'm going to do Pygame dot draw arc to the screen. This time I'm going to use green. I'm going to start at 210, so it looks like starting at the exact same place. 75, 150, and 125. Close the bracket. My arc this time is going to be pi divided by 2. Pi, 2 is the thickness. Pygame dot draw dot arc. And just keep repeating this till you get all 4 arcs drawn in or typed in. Make sure that you double check what you're typing, that you are typing the correct numbers. That is important so that your arcs do what you need them to do. This time it's pi, and then I'm going to say 3 times pi divided by 2. And once we get all of these typed in, we're going to run it again. This time it's red. and. Okay, so now I believe I have everything typed in exactly the same. And I'm going to run this. All right, so let's look at this. So here's our code. So in this one, I start with black. And I started at 210 across, 210 across, and 75 down. And I drew it to 150 across, 125 down, with an arc of 0 starting point, or starting arc, and then pi divided by 2. So that's what's made this first one. And then my red, if I look at my red, 210, okay, 75, 150, 125, okay? So what that's doing is it's going back this way. So 210, 75 is right here. And then the 150, 125 is right here. So that's going, making this red arc. And then I have my blue, which is 210, 75, and 150, 125. And that's drawing this arc, and then my green right here. So I made a circle with my different points and the way my angles are. Now I will tell you that in other languages it is much easier to draw arcs. There's you don't have to use pi, and it's easier to put in your arc angles. And if you take Java class after you do this Python class, it is a lot easier to draw an arc with that language. So just, keep in mind, keep these as a reference on how these arcs were drawn, on how this arc was drawn, and how if you needed to reverse the arc, you could reverse the arc to make a different type of arc. Go back and, play with those numbers and see what is in here and how the arcs can be manipulated. If you have any questions, please email me, and I will be happy to answer the best I can. And move on to the next section.